we just lost you and the stream, and
My
it looked like that
internet.
was the end of the episode. But we can do shout outs.
Yeah, my internet went down. We're having a big snowstorm up here in the Northeast U.S., so it's likely starting to affect relays and things.
Which would be Southeast Canada, which means
Hmm.
I am either getting a snowstorm. Yeah, I am either getting that same snowstorm or it's coming.
Yeah, it might be coming. It's supposed to be 16 inches here in New York.
16 inches. That's a lot of inches.
16 inches is what they're predicting.
I have a ruler here. I don't have enough inches on this ruler to count all of that.
I know. And if they get as much as they are expecting, I am going to have to shovel my car out tomorrow for a snow emergency. It will be so much fun.
That doesn't sound like real fun.
All
All right, well then, while I got you, let's go to some shout outs. The first one is one that was almost a news item, but then it would have been the only news item. So I figured, shout out. That is that there is a new Humble Bundle. It is called Pathfinder Monster Lore. Humble Bundle RPG Book Bundle Pathfinder Monster Lore by Paizo is the official name. And what they are releasing is a lot of some of my early favorites from the Pathfinder campaign setting. They are the Monsters Revisited and then the Unleashed series of books, where it's a little bit of crunch, but it's mostly larger sections. I believe they are 8 or maybe even 16-page sections on specific monsters. So classic horrors revisited covers vampires, covers that kind of thing. Classic Monsters Revisited was basically the bestiary, but the Paizo version of it. And so that was where I was introduced to Paizo goblins. Most people were introduced to them through Burnt Offerings, but I was not playing Canned Adventures at the time. So seeing the goblin songs for the first time, like that book changed how I thought about monster books and really converted me from just Pathfinder the rule system fan to Pathfinder all of it fan. So I believe that is in here somewhere. Yeah, there it is. It is at the 1306 Canadian or more level. It's also got the let's see, some of the later first edition books. I actually thought there was some second edition bestiaries, but is it not? Is this totally just lore? Yeah, it looks like it's just lore books. It includes Giants Revisited, to which I contributed the Hill Giant. So yeah, this is a really cool bundle, and it is a little crunchy in the first edition side. I'm surprised there is not at least a second edition bestiary in here, honestly. But Misfit Monsters Revisited, Redeemed. That was another early favorite. Some of my favorite books from first edition are in here.
Oh, that's
so
fun.
The Animal Archive, Familiar Folio, and Cohorts and Companions are player companion books. Those are just flat out first edition crunch, so you won't get as much out of them. But all of these lore books are wonderful.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so people can check that out. It is the latest Paizo Humble Bundle. Again, it's Humble RPG Book Bundle, Pathfinder Monster Lore by Paizo.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think most or maybe none of these books have not been in a Humble Bundle before. Let me try that again, but not negative. Most of these books are in their first Humble Bundle, if not all of them. So yeah, well worth checking out, especially if you're playing first edition. But even though they're first edition books, it's not exclusively good for first edition players. It's people that just like monsters in general.
And monsters are so easy to make in second edition, really. They give you a lot of good guidelines, and you can approximate the abilities without too much trouble. So yeah,
that's true. Fantastic. And if there's an ability that wasn't covered by the lore, well, that's what these books are for. You'll read all about, what's going on with the Dire Corbeil. And if you really love the Dire Corbeil from the write-up, you can do your own Dire Corbeil that fits your vision, what you love about it. Like the Bugbear in Classic Monsters Revisited, they talked about how it's the boogeyman and how it can haunt a single player by being there but being invisible to everybody else. And that's not covered by the mechanics of the Bugbear anywhere else. And I was like, but I want that Bugbear. Well, make that Bugbear.
Sure. Then that's one of its abilities. Done. All right, fantastic. My only shout out is somewhat of a personal one, but it's also it's to Jason at What You Do Pods. He has been a fantastic co-producer for Super Smash Finder in getting the thing to happen. If it wasn't for him, the show wouldn't happen, because he has done so much of the legwork and scaffolding to make this show possible that I don't think one person could have done all this. and he has shouldered a lot of burden, and I am very appreciative to him. So that's my shout out for him, just for being a fantastic teammate to get that show up and off the ground.
Yeah, I have been more and more impressed with him. Like, I loved the concept of his Twitter and was fascinated by him.
Yeah.
But now seeing how he has been helping to run Super Smash Finder, so from the inside track, get to see how he handles these kind of things. He's like a logistical mind and a marvel, and I love it.
And he's just a fantastically nice person. Like I'd almost assume he was Canadian. Like he's that nice. That was a funny compliment. Never mind.
Yeah, oh, sorry. I should have said something instead of just smile and nod.
You made it look like I said something offensive about Canadians.
How dare you? Nice. I'll show you nice.
But he's a very sweet, genuine sort of person, and fantastic to work with. So, and yeah, and his Twitter is fantastic. It's just literally just shouting out for all the other X-Finder-verse podcasts and forms of entertainment out there. And it's fantastic. So you should absolutely go follow him. Hold on, I'm going to get the exact one. Make sure I got it. What do you do pods on Twitter?
And I got a couple more shout outs. My typical ones. So first, a network shout out. We've got a shout out to Geek Together. So typically, or theoretically, the idea is that we always have something on Twitch on Wednesdays, and every third, or anyway, so two of them are No Direction, one of them is No Direction Beyond, and then the last one is theoretically Geek Together, but it often gets bumped because either we're all too busy or there have been a couple of last minute things where Geek Together get canceled. So I'm very happy that we managed to get the last Geek Together out, and it was Param, Luis, and Dustin doing a Geek Together Holiday Guide 2020. This is something that we did with Luis last year as a No Direction segment. And this is one of those Geek Togethers that basically could have been a No Direction because all of their geeky holiday gift suggestions were ideal for gamers. They were gamer related. But as I was talking to Param in the planning of this, I said, I have not bought an adult a gift in 10 years. Like, I buy children and I buy the elderly gifts. And I did forget that I have bought the girls' teachers gifts, but like as far as just friends and people that are close to me, no, you're either my senior or very much my junior. I very rarely buy gifts from people that are my own age. So I disqualified myself from covering this topic a second time. But Luis, Dustin, and Param came up with some new ideas, which have been linked in the show notes for that episode that's been posted there. So if you listen to the audio, make sure you go and check it out on the page as well, because a lot of the suggestions, and Dustin came up with some really creative suggestions, they are linked to there. Next up, the next podcast in my podcatcher that I want to shout out to is the Talk Without Rhythm podcast. People might remember a long time ago, at one point, El Goro, the host of the Talk Without Rhythm podcast, he filled in for Param on a No Direction, which is appropriate that this would be the episode that I am shouting out to that podcast, but it was the next one alphabetically. So Talk Without Rhythm is a movie fan podcast where every episode, El Goro, sometimes alone, sometimes with a guest, sometimes with his reoccurring regular co-host, the Cancer Man, they analyze two thematically tied movies, and they just summarize the plot, go into some of the news that were surrounding the movies when they were released, the reception, and their personal feelings about it. And they are big time movie nerds. They are bigger movie nerds than I am. So I am interested enough that I enjoy listening to them. I couldn't have a podcast like this of my own, which makes it just really, really entertaining for me. So, and El Goro has just the loveliest bass voice. He is so fun to listen to. And when he gets really passionate about something, he explains himself really well. It's listen to the podcast just for El Goro's voice, even if you're not a movie fan. And finally, next episode, because I mentioned in the Twitch chat after we lost your call that it's like, well, we're just going to have to call that an episode, an appropriate end to the last regular episode of 2020, which that turned out not to be. But
we saved it.
Yes, but what I was saying by the last regular episode is that the next episode will be on December 30th, and it will be the 2020 holiday special. Now, last year we did this full pre-recorded, fully edited together holiday special that was very much in the style of an old sitcom, and it was super fun, but it was also a lot of work. It was logistically a lot of work to get everyone recorded, and it was a lot of technical work for Param to edit it. So as much fun as it would be to do that again, last year we needed to because Christmas was on a Wednesday. So Param, or not only a Wednesday, but a No Direction Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
But this year it's either the 18th, or sorry, the 16th, which is today, or the 30th, neither of which are steeped in the trenches of the holidays. So we are going to do a holiday special, but just hanging out, because we have this network of 20 plus people, and most of the conversation between us is just stuff about the network. And we've got so much in common. We are friends that barely get to do anything together, even though we run this network together. So I am looking forward to the next episode, where it's just a rotating cast of the staffers from No Direction coming in, chatting for a bit, checking holidays, chatting just whatever's on our minds, and then wrapping up the year with just a nice, positive, pleasant episode.
Yeah, that'll be really nice.
That also kind of dictated when we were in the banter segment this episode. I was like, what can I talk to Vanessa about that I don't want to talk to her about in 2 weeks?
Yeah, it's hard to Ryan, quote, everything is content, and quote, Costello. What can we talk about that's safe? Don't want to waste.
Not only is everything content, but every content has its place. Like, that's the part we don't usually talk about, but can't just do any content. We have to do very specific content that would not be better served somewhere else.
That's right. And I think that's why the No Direction Network does so well. Because you always make sure everything is so well organized that everything is in the proper place. So
it runs itself mostly. Like, it may seem like I do a lot, but for the most part, if a blog's missing, I'll poke the person, but otherwise everyone knows their schedule. Everyone stays on top of their schedules very well. It really is just like we are all synergized, and there's this group energy that's moving everything forward.
Fantastic.
All right. Do you think you could tackle the shout out to the Patreon and all that stuff, or should we just kind of hand wave it?
Sure. If you'd like to support the show, you should support us on Patreon. Our patrons are what allow us to have fantastic audio quality, usually very good equipment that doesn't die when there's not a giant snowstorm, and other fantastic art assets and guests, and all the things that we can do are because of patrons like you. And if you want to join us between shows, you should join our Discord, which is one of the most wholesome and wonderful place on the entire internet to talk about Pathfinder, Starfinder, and other games. You can find our links to all of our resources, our shows, and our blogs at nodirectionpodcast.com.
And if you do become a patron, one of the perks for the $5 level and more is the Patron's Private Sanctum, which is an after show recorded live on Patreon. On Discord in the Patreon backers channel. I will be jumping over there in a couple of minutes. V, you're welcome to join me. I don't know what your day is looking like. All right. So
as long as my internet doesn't die.
Yeah, there's that. But at least if your internet doesn't die, we don't lose the connection.
That's true.
So yeah, we'll be jumping over to Discord, into the Patreon chat, the Patron's Private Sanctum voice channel, and wrapping things up officially over there. So until next time, I'm Ryan Costello.
And I'm Vanessa Hoskins.
And if you want to find the path, you need no direction.